Hi, my name is Keith and I am a minimalist collector. For about 6 months I've been documenting my minimalism journey on my blog, ILikeHelping.com, Minimalism in a Nerdy World. And I started this process with a lot of collectibles. I have been accumulating collectibles for most of my life. There are things in my office now I have had since childhood. Many of the stuff in my possession now, though, only came into my life in the past 5 to 10 years. I moved around a lot in my 20s, and when I settled down, I started settling in and started accumulating a lot of physical things. A lot of books, toys, action figures, art, single-issue comics, DVDs, a lot of stuff, a lot of things. So I have been working to divest myself of many of these things in ways that are good for the environment. I don't want to throw everything just in a dumpster, but also trying to get a few dollars back out of it where I can. So as I've worked through this journey, I've talked to a lot of other collectors, and many of them, because they're about my age, are starting to question the amount that they've accumulated. And they are asking questions about, how do I get rid of these things? And it's not as easy as it sounds. If you are a collector, you will have a few items that are worth a significant amount of money. You'll have a few that you can recoup, and then you'll have a lot of stuff. If you take your action figures out of the package, you probably have a lot of hunks of plastic that you won't find a market for. So I wanted to run through how I have gotten rid of some things and give you some ideas of what has worked for me and what hasn't. There is no perfect answer to this, unfortunately, but I can give you an idea of what I have done for the past 6 months to reduce the amount of stuff in my life while trying to move that needle of getting myself debt-free. So DVDs, I've got terrible news. DVDs are worthless. If you are lucky and you are in a place that is still taking DVDs for trade or cash, get rid of them today. Do not wait. I'm in a city of over 1 million people. I found one store that would trade for DVDs. And even at that, it was about 25 cents trade value or less. I joke that I traded 600 DVDs for a bag full of magic beans, which isn't that far off from the truth. I traded 600 DVDs roughly for about 10 records, vinyl records. So get those out of your house now. Do not wait. Blu-rays there is still a bit of a market for. In general, the only thing on DVDs that you can sell for anything is things that came out on DVD that have not come out on Blu-ray, are not available on iTunes, Netflix, any of the common digital platforms. There are things that will not come out on those platforms because they were not made in high definition. One of my favorite shows of all time, Babylon 5, for example, I kept those DVDs because there will not be a high definition version of those. So there is a small market for those things, but again, today. Do not wait on those. Books, unfortunately, are very similar. The used bookstore market has collapsed thanks to digital, and just as the DVD market did, just as the CD market did, with the advent of digital and the readily available digital forms of these things, there is a small market for used books. Really, you can trade them in sometimes. Even then, stores are beginning to get picky because a used hardcover will cost you the same as what it will to buy the book digitally. So again, don't wait on that. For us, I sold very, very few of my regular books through eBay, etc. There are no stores in my town that pay cash. There are only a couple stores that are even taking trade, and honestly, since I'm minimizing, trade value doesn't really amount to anything for me. We donated a huge pile of books. We donated 300 pounds of books to a charity book sale. You can read about that on ilikehelping.com. And I'll put that in the show notes as well. It was really great. My wife and I collected up all the books around the house, massively minimized. She cut about half of her collection. I cut probably 90% of my collection. All I kept was books that were never released in a digital format, books that are now out of print and I can't replace even if I wanted to. Before you go down the eBay road, I would caution you to think about it carefully. It is a lot of time to post these things, deal with the sales, package them up, get them in the mail. I have the luxury, because I am child-free, I have my free time is my free time. So getting these things posted and mailed was not a huge inconvenience. Also, there's a postal outlet just a couple of blocks away from my workplace, so I could go out at lunch and get these things dropped in the mail. That said, I still made a limit of $10 or more. And even $10 was a bit of a squeeze to make it worth the time and effort, to be honest. I really went for big ticket items, and until you start purging and until you start looking these things up, you don't know what those are. I was shocked at some of the things that were worth money, and also a bit dismayed at the things that I'm going to try to move at a comic sale for $5 because I thought there'd be a market and there wasn't. If there's a way that you can make more money in that time, you want to be an Uber driver, you want to do some online work, some consultant work, or pick up a few hours at your job if you're paid hourly, that's likely to be a better use of your time than going the eBay route. I will say that start from your big ticket items and work down. Right now, there's only a few things left in this stack, most of which are things that I just discovered might have a value on eBay. This is thankfully going to be the end of eBay for me for the foreseeable future. I've got a few items left to put up. What you collect and accumulate will make a huge difference in what you do with sites like eBay. Also, we have Kijiji, Craigslist, that kind of thing. I never had the kinds of clothes, for example, that resell. So I donated all of those. I had just simple clothes and print design t-shirts. So it was nothing that had a resale value or a collector value. Most of the books, again, were donation. If you have coins or stamps or things that retain a bit of value, always check, but I would recommend you do that really quickly. The danger of going the eBay route, to be totally honest, is that this is not ripping the Band-Aid off. This is taking forever, and it's been frustrating. I'll be completely honest that it has at times been very frustrating to be working so hard in other areas to reduce, to simplify, to calm my space, and to have this hanging over me. I am really looking forward to closing it up. I'm going to squeeze maybe a couple $100 more out, and then this thing's gone. There is a lot of value in doing this process quickly. There are things in the process I did do quickly, so clothes and books. They were huge volumes of things. I did them very fast, and there's a rush to that. There's a reinforcement that what you're doing is accomplishing something. This process of selling things online is not that. It has taken 6 months, hundreds of listings, maybe half of which actually sold. So that's photos, write-ups, listing them, relisting them when they don't sell, repricing them. It's a lot of time. And if you are not trying to squeeze money out of these things, do it fast. So what happens after this eBay process is that I have a table at a comic book and toy show coming up in September, so about a month after I'm recording this. And everything that I could not move on eBay or through Kijiji will go to that and blow out prices. I have always had the intention that that sale, which I booked months and months ago, is the end of this process. I am so looking forward to settling this room. It has felt like a constant state of decluttering and minimizing for over 6 months. And at times that's very rewarding, and at times it's incredibly frustrating. Decluttering and simplifying can be quite addictive, and there is a lot of joy and a feeling of progress and accomplishment when you get another chunk of things out of the house. I sold off a collection of books, hardcover Sandman books. If you are a comic book reader, they were the Absolute Sandman editions, which honestly I'd read twice in 10 years, so I will not miss them. And I hummed and hawed. I thought of that over and over of whether I wanted to let them go. They were readily saleable, and they weighed a ton. And I went back and forth until the day I packed those up after they sold, and I picked up that box that weighed nearly 50 pounds. And as soon as I picked that box up, that huge weight became a symbol of the entire process. And handing that off at the post office meant that I gained all of this leverage to do the next phase of decluttering and minimizing. Because all I could think is, how many times have I picked those up and moved them around? How many places have I lived that I've moved them? What happens the next time I move and I'm paying someone to move that box of books that I've read twice in 10 years? Get yourself all the leverage that you need. Help yourself. Whatever works for you, and I do recommend speed. Don't take forever to do this process because it is the surest way to slow yourself down. An object in motion stays in motion. Thanks very much for watching. Please drop by my blog, ilikehelping.com. Minimalism in a Nerdy World. There are new posts up every Wednesday. New videos are going up every Saturday. And I look forward to seeing you next time.